All right, peeps, here we go. Let's see if this works out for peeps. Alrighty, let me get this thing going there. Come on, get you there. Guess that's going to go right there for the moment. Yep. 3.3, Conservation Regeneration. Figure 1A, Extinction Risk Levels of Species and Global Biodiversity by Category. So, yep. State the category with the highest percentage of vulnerable species in Figure 1A. Let's take a look here. Least concern, vulnerable. So far, I'm thinking it's coral. Yep, I'm thinking it's coral because vulnerable is right there and coral reef right there. Yep. Outline 2 reasons why amphibians have the highest percentage of critically endangered species in Figure 1A. So amphibians right here. They need land and water. They need land and water, both climates, to be non-polluted and intact and conserved. And they are predator species. They're easy for predation, so predators prey on them. So predators and also habitat destruction. Using Figure 1A, state the approximate percentage of threatened crustaceans. All right, so there's crustaceans right there. All right, let's take a look down here. Ooh, all right. So we got vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct. So, least concern. So yeah, if we're going to guess there, data insufficient. Sometimes you combine light green. Probably threatened, least concerned. Sorry, near threatened. Probably just doing the red and the endangered. Probably going about 10%. I'm guessing for crustaceans. So, describe one reason for the lack of available data for crustaceans. Ooh, that one's a tough one. Lack of available data for crustaceans. Short lifespan, maybe. Hard to keep accurate data counts. Could be. Species is transitional, like it moves around quite a bit. Yeah, there we go. Figure 1B. Changing species extinction risk by category, 1980 to 2015. Outline 3 reasons why the trend for corals is different to the other categories shown in Figure 1B. All right, so let's see. So extinction risk decreasing. So why is coral getting worse? Because of ocean acidity, leaching. Oh. So, yeah, so they want 3 reasons. So, acidity in our oceans increasing from increased carbon coming into it. Lack of conservation could be another. Lack of knowledge about it. Yep. Figures 1A and 1B are based on records for species diversity. Identify one other factor that may be measured to assess the diversity of life on Earth. Could do habitat as well for that. So, yep. Figures 11A, fact file on conservation in Beijing. Beijing Zoo maintains an active breeding program that recently produced over 1,000 surviving offspring of nearly 100 species in 1 year, including the critically endangered north white-cheeked gibbon and Guizhou snub-nosed monkey. Other reproduced species include the giant panda. The Beijing Gardening and Greening Bureau plans to plant at least one dead hedge in each of the city's parks. Figure 11B, construction of a dead hedge. Dead hedge is made from material left over from pruning, clearing, or forestry activities and provides a habitat for small mammals and reptiles. Ooh, okay, because it kind of protects them, actually. It's kind of like a coral reef. Got it. So dead hedge, half completed. Dead hedge, here we go. Twigs, leaves, stone soil. All right, soil surface, woven bushes, sticks. All right. Cool. All right. With reference to figure 11A and B, outline one advantage of Beijing Zoo's approach to conservation compared to that of Beijing Gardening and Greening Bureau. All right. Easier monitor in the zoo. With reference to 11A and B, outline one advantage of Beijing Gardening and Greening Bureau's approach to conservation compared with that of Beijing Zoo. Less money. All right. Yeah. I think this is going to take less funds than the Beijing Zoo. All right. Why conserve biodiversity? All right, money, straight up. So, it could be, increased biodiversity does better long term, could be a long term investment. Also, it's got social, ethical, aesthetic, and ecological values as well. The idea that diversity is a good thing. Hey, look at in your classroom. If all you had was clones of yourself, all you'd have would be one set of ideas or values. So that's obviously not a good thing. So untimely extinction is no bueno. Yeah, so if a species goes extinct before it's supposed to, before it's time, that impacts everybody and everything around it. So not good. Evolutionary adaptation is good. It's not the biggest and strongest to survive, it's the most adaptable. The UN is the United Nations. So, yep. That is an IGO, Intergovernmental Organization. IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program. CITES. CITES is going to come in later in this. CITES. Call it an outside hunch. I think CITES is going to be on like future IB exams or DP exams. So, yeah, just for what my money's worth. UNDP, United Nations Development Program. WWF, World Wildlife Federation. WWF is interesting. That's what they used to call the WWE, the World Wrestling, whatever it is. They used to call it the World Wrestling Federation in my day. So WWF always gives me a little laugh. WRI, World Resource Institute. NGO, non-governmental organization. GOs, governmental organizations. SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Ooh, SDGs are good too. My wife talks about these in her Spanish class, just to give you a heads up. IB loves IUCN, NGO, SDG. You should know UN as well. Anything in yellow for my class, you don't have to write down. So I put it in there just for like a heads up. And also, too, if you are watching this and you are not in my class, just know if there's anything in the book that's that we're not going into in the notes, I'll put it in there just so you know. All right. The value of biodiversity. Goods equal direct benefit. So services, indirect benefit. Direct benefits, food sources. Hey, look, you need food to survive. And if you can get it from nature, that's a good thing. Let's see. Not harvesting. It's a term I've recently used. tea today. Honey, local honey, orange rind. The local honey helps you out with allergies. It's spring here in New England, so. Term I was looking for is foraging. Yeah, so you're basically going out looking for mushrooms, looking for different things. Depending on where you are, you can get quite a bit. Rice, wheat, corn are half the world's food. Yeah, we get half our food from grains. If we only have one type of each and a disease hits, peeps are going to starve. Irish potato famine. Yeah, not good. So, let's fix this. Different varieties have different genes, some with resistance. You need to preserve old varieties, might need in the future. So gene banks are important. If something comes in, invasive species, and completely wipes out a plant species, say like a tree, if you have a gene bank, you can bring it back like 50 years after that invasive species has basically eaten all of its food sources and is dead. So gene banks are important. Scientists are only one step ahead of diseases. Keep that in mind. Need proof of that? I don't think so. We're the COVID generation. So, yep. Natural products, medicines, fertilizers, pesticides come from plants plus animals. Recently learned that in my area we have to worry about ticks with Lyme disease. So, like, ticks are this little insect and they carry Lyme disease. A lot of them do anyway. And so they spray this like anti-tick stuff on your lawns. Basically peppermint from what I've heard. So fertilizers come from cow, pig, bird, bat, etc. Poop. Yep. So you gotta know your crap. Interesting enough, like animal poop, like really it's so acidic that it really does break down a lot of things. Like a friend of mine has cows, and during the wintertime she'll have a pig, and the combination of the cow and pig poop, and then she also has dogs, and she'll give the dogs the old cow bones, and when the bones are just nasty and done, she throws them in the pile of pig and cow poop, and that breaks down the bones, and in the spring they're not there anymore. So I make sure that I stay on her good side. Should get rid of a lot of evidence. So dish soap comes from oil palms, which cause deforestation. So, yeah, oil palms are really nasty. I know we use them for dish soap and all that, but if there's deforestation is really bad for them. Also, too, if a fire breaks out in an oil palm plantation, ooh, is that bad? It's like, fire starter. All right, rubber, rope, linen, cotton, silk, honey, leather, hemp is another one. All come from nature. Yep. Indirect benefits. So let's go down here for this. Let's get that there. I'll even make myself a little bit smaller here. And maybe I'll just move myself down here. There we go, that's easier. So, indirect benefits. Environmental services. Societies, people, and governments are beginning to put a price tag to environmental services. Look at bees. The service they provide us is irreplaceable. All right. So they go around and they pollinate all the flowers, which then come up as fruits, veggies, all that sort of stuff. So soil aeration from worms. Yep. Gets air going into the soil, makes it so it's not packed, makes it so the soil is good and healthy, and we can grow stuff. Pollination from insects. That's what I was just talking about with bees. Climate regulation from the rainforest. So soaks up carbon like you wouldn't believe. Breaking down waste from decomposers. So unless you have those, like if you ever see like a skeleton in the desert, or like the bodies on top of Mount Everest from climbers that died, no decomposers there. So guess what? The body stays there. It's kind of nasty. Biodiversity stabilizes the environment, which is a good thing. So scientific and educational value as well for indirect benefits. We learn from nature quite a bit. So when we're designing fighter planes, we also look quite a bit at animals, and just for speed, the aerodynamics. So biological control agents. Some species control invasive species. So yeah. Let me think of an example of that. can't right now. Sorry. I'm drinking tea, not coffee. But you get the general idea. If you bring in an invasive species by accident, sometimes you can bring in another species that'll eat that species. So, yep. Might be hogs in Hawaii. So you bring in hogs into Hawaii. Unfortunately, pigs take all over. They got wild hogs. Bringing in the species take care of them. We're going to call that species hunters. So you bring in some good old boys that love hunting. Be like, hey, get yourself some hogs. You know, that will control the hog population. So, yep, it's good stuff. All right, where are we at with this? Decomposers, some species invasives. All right, gene pools. Oh yeah, you want your gene pool diverse. If your family tree looks like a pine tree, you need a little bit of diversity. You need some new blood in there. So future potential for even more uses. Environmental monitors. Reason being for this, hey look, think of a canary in a coal mine. If the canary dies, that's a pretty good monitor that the miners are going to start dying next. So you better get the heck out of there. So there's other ones for animals that like, hey, when if you're off in the woods and you hear wildlife, and then you hear all the wildlife disappear, it might be because there's an apex predator in that area, and you probably want to disappear too. So, human health, antibiotics originally came from fungi. Yeah, fun stuff, right? Fungus is really interesting. I should look more into it. Just like, it's fun, interesting. Mushrooms, all that sort of stuff. So, a rare yew tree produces a chemical used to treat cancer. Number one cancer drug for years. So, also too, yew trees were also how they made the English longbow, from what I've heard. The outside avoids tension, and then the inside avoids compression. So, makes it so that it gives a really fast rebound, sends that arrow away with a high velocity. Human rights. Native people can continue to live on their lands with their lifestyle. This is really good. It's probably to avoid hubris, that never think that you're living better than somebody else, that you've got a better life than them. In some ways, they've got a better life than you. So, yep, don't be thinking that. Recreation, aesthetics, creating sport, fun, socialization, etc. So indirect benefit, yeah, try going out on a date in nature. Seriously, like, go off to a beautiful park. Go like by the beach, sunset, rivers, beach. Go for a swim. Go for a walk. I think you'll find your date experience rather good. Now, if it doesn't work out for you, chances are you need a different date. So, yeah, there's my dating advice for you. Ecotourism generates money plus jobs. I'll be honest with you. At my old age, granted, I teach ESS, but I like going to beautiful places that have environmental stuff. I was once did this for a do now. Could mankind ever create something as beautiful as what God created? And most people said no. So give yourself a beautiful waterfall. A lot more beautiful than a skyscraper to a lot of people. So people's vacation to see natural beauty, and they bring their wallets with them, or at least Apple Pay. So, yep. Ethical and intrinsic value. Each species has a right to exist regardless to human needs. Interesting on this one about equity. Just because we have no value for it doesn't mean we get to off it. So, beliefs that humans are the stewards of the earth. Yep. We kind of put this on ourselves, but I don't disagree with it. Humans, we have the power. With great power comes great responsibility. I think that's a Marvel thing. But we are responsible for taking care of the earth and just making sure we don't mess it up. So, biorights, self-perpetuation. Diverse ecosystems function to keep their biodiversity. So, yep. On page 311, or by other means, define conservation biology. Define preservation biology. All right, we'll scoot this down for us a little bit here. Ooh, let's go to right there. Yeah. Now move my ugly face right up there. Yeah, that looks good. Enough. All right. So, yep, we still have those. Conservation and preservation of biodiversity. Conservation biologist. No exclusion of humans from nature. So, Yep, they believe that humans should be in nature. This idea that you just leave nature just for the animals, they don't even want to see human footprints. These people don't believe in that. So, pro sustainable hunting and harvesting. I fall into this. I used to be like a tree hugger and be like, no, no logging. But the truth is that when you craft logging or sustainable logging, I actually support it now because I've changed my mind, which is a good thing. That I can change my mind. People that are totally anchored into their ways or beliefs, non adaptable, non survivable, non sustainable. So, craft logging, craft hunting. You take out a species and you're making room for the next generation. Does that mean you're going in there wholesale and just clear cutting logs and forest? Heck no. All right. For one thing, it's non economically sustainable because if you cut down all the trees, you just flooded the market with lumber. You did all that work and now you're making no money. So, yep. Pro sustainable hunting, harvesting, development, not at the expense of environment's future. Use nature for economic sustainability. Yep, if it's sustainable, it's got to be economic sustainable too. Preservation biologist. Ecocentric. Value nature for what it is, regardless of its use to humans. They really don't want to see humans interfering with nature. They don't want it. They want it like a forest preserve where there is no humans walking in there. So, government plus peeps have difficulty in choosing between money now and environmental long-term well-being. A lot of people sell out and they go for the short-term profits of money now. For me, play the long game. Look at it with stocks too. Play the long game. Everyone knows climate change can trash peeps plus government's ability to make money. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure that one out. Look at your heating cost. Look at your cooling cost. Look at the cost of rebuilding after a storm, wildfire, hurricane, whatever. Not good. Some people think that as one person has no effect. You don't have to put this down, but just think about that with COVID. COVID started by one person eating bat meat. At least that's what we hear. So one person can have a major effect for everything. Sustainable development equals meeting the needs of the present without negatively affecting the needs of the future. So, yeah. TOK. Oh, here we go. This one should be a question here. I am so sorry. We're going to make that blue. Good. TOK. To what extent is our decision to act on conservation of biodiversity based on emotions? Very good. Okay. Approaches to conservation. Species-based conservation. Conserve the species but not the environment in which it lives. Sites. Organization that governments sign up for. Told you sites was going to be big. I just really feel like it's going to be on DP exams going forward. Goal is combat international trade of endangered species. Now, this is something I think, I can't say everyone's going to get behind because the problem is locally, if you've got to choose between hunting to, make money to feed your family or, letting the tiger live, you're going to kill the tiger and take the money to feed your children and yourself. So you got to make species conservation. You got to make it economically feasible for the locals too. So, yep. Plants plus animals, imports plus parts. All right. Grouped by appendices, by how threatened they are. So, yep. Appendix 1 equals species can't be traded because of extinction. Appendix 2, species can be traded with strict regulations for sustainability. Yep. Appendices 3, traded at the request of a country with agreement from another country. So, yep. Has been very effective in conservation. So, yep, effective overall. Captive breeding in zoos. Can't keep every species. Nope. Some just don't work out with breeding in captivity. Some just don't work out in zoos. So, keep records plus exchange animals to keep genetic diversity. Why? Because inbreeding in zoos is very real, very possible, and not very desirable. So, zoos are also great though for educating people. When you see an animal, you have become more interested. You care more about the environment. All right, let's see what we got down here. Gonna scoot that to right there. Hopefully, then I'm gonna move this to right here. That way you can continue to see that blue TOK up there. All right, pros and cons of captive breeding. And you do have to take this down, by the way. Saves animals from extinctions, educates the population about conservation, makes money for research, plus conservation can help reintroduce animals into the wild. Good for scientific research, employment for locals. Yep, those are all benefits to it. Cons of captive breeding are this: some animals develop disorders in captivity. Like, literally, try putting some students do very well in ISS, or like, being in one classroom their whole day. Others do not. Think about COVID. You had some people, like, they were losing their minds. Me, I didn't do too bad. All right. Conditions not always suited for the animals. It is expensive. Reintroduction is difficult and expensive. Inbreeding, lower genetic diversity is common and requires global cooperation, which is not easy. Think about right now your politics in your country. Is it confrontational politics? The United States right now does look that way. And then you figure out internationally, do people collide? Oh yeah, right now the war in Ukraine and Russia is still going. So reintroduction is expensive plus difficult. Best at fighting extinction. Let's move that one right there. Hey, you're gonna get a picture of my wife right here. All right. Not that. You don't want a picture of me. She's much more pretty than me. Gosh dang it. How do I make this thing small? Come on. There we go. All right. No, stop that. All right, let's see here. Good. All right. Let's go here. There we go. Reintroduction is expensive plus difficult. Best at fighting extinction. Success is more likely if people are incentivized. Basically, if they can get like either pride or money from it. So if you can reintroduce a species and make it a source of pride for that area, like they can identify with it, like, yeah, that's us. We have lions in our area, whatever it is, then it's more likely to help. Like the golden lion in Tamarin in Brazil, totally get behind it. The Arabian oryx in Oman. The Bedouin tribes are a big help because they're like economic source for them. The Bedouin tribes move all around, really help that Arabian oryx to repopulate, which it was hunted out, in the wild. So it's doing all right now. Many programs are unsuccessful, mostly because animals are too adapted to humans. Yeah, it's just is what it is. Animals are just like humans. We go for the easiest. So sometimes being by humans is the easiest. Plant reintroduction faces herbivore threat plus competition from non-invasive plants. They also don't move around as much, so it's a little bit tougher. Not possible if native habitat's gone. So if the native habitat is destroyed, good luck getting that species to be reintroduced because it doesn't have anywhere where it can survive. So frozen zoos are genetic materials or animal plants that are kept frozen for future potential reintroduction species. I wonder if they're in that gene bank that we talked about earlier. So botanical gardens and seed banks. What makes a garden botanical? Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's a question right there. I should have highlighted that one too. All right, bam, let's make that one blue. Biggest botanical gardens is in Kew, London. So yeah, we got like a picture of my wife down here. All right. Which brings up the vocab word of settling. She settled. She could have done better. All right. Yep. Botanical gardens are actually really fun to go visit. All right. Back onto that date idea. Yeah. Okay. They're a good time. So, 1,500 botanical gardens globally. Seed banks are stored dried frozen seeds, different locations to mitigate disasters. Banks require a lot of technology and money, so unfortunately, if you're looking at equity, they're not in countries that can't afford them. They're not in LICs or LEDCs. They tend to be in richer countries. Probably the best one examples in Norway. It's in Svalbard, which is an island way up north in the Arctic Circle. Unfortunately, climate change is hitting there though, and the permafrost is deteriorating. So yeah, given different problems. All right, so flagship species down here. Let's go down here to this one here. And we're going to put this guy right there. Awesome. So flagship species equal popular species. They're not the keystone species. Flagship species are the ones people really get behind. They're like, oh, they're cute. Come on, I fall for it too. I simp for it. Usually look cute. They're umbrella species. Why are they called umbrellas? Because like when people want to conserve like them because oh they're cute, they actually help out the other species and animals and habitat around it because they also conserve the habitat for the others that might not be as cute. So may not have significant role in the ecosystem, but they look cute. All right. Used to get people to simp and donate money. Sucker for it right here. All right. Disadvantages of marketing them. Take priority over others. Yep. So yep. If they become extinct, people feel efforts are doomed. It's kind of like when your sports team loses. If you're a Manchester United fan, you put all your effort, all your fans, all your heart into Manchester United, and then you see them lose. Suddenly you're like, forget football, forget soccer, I don't even care. All right. On to rugby. All right. Doomed. If they extinct people, they feel the effort. Maybe trouble for locals, but global population loves them. So yeah, like oh, tigers are cute. Yeah, well, guess what? I'm not in India, and I didn't see like my neighbor mauled by one. So like, if I was in India and I saw my neighbor mauled by a tiger, guess what? I might not think they're so cute. All right. If I'm going off into a rice field and like, you don't know if they're there. Yeah, man. Gosh, you know. Keystone species. Species is critical to maintaining ecosystem. So it has nothing to do with size or number. Yeah, literally. But what a keystone species is, if you take that one species out, the whole ecosystem collapses. So if this species disappears, whole ecosystem is in trouble. Challenges in identifying the keystone species. Yeah, you'd never know until it's a little too late. So usually predators or the engineers. That's one thing we've kind of found. Like wildebeest, like in this Serengeti. I know in my class they study it quite a bit in like 10th grade for science, but like without the wildebeest, they don't have dung. Without the dung, the grass doesn't grow. All right, other things too. So examples are sea otters, beavers, elephants. Look up one of the three keystone species on page 317 or by any other means and say why it's a keystone species. So, yep. Habitat-based conservation. Very important for migratory species. Oh, yeah. Why? Because if you're migratory, you need two environments or two habitats at least. So, aims are conserving, protecting, and restoring habitats, preventing species extinction. Preventing habitat fragmentation as well. So you try to get like a nice corridor going for the animals to live. The mixed approach, nature preserve. Location is critical to this one. How land is used outside the preserve affects the inside the preserve. Yep. So think of this just as like the edge effect a little bit. Proximity to humans plus activities can be a positive or negative impact for the species. So look, everybody from the hunters I speak to, they love chasing white-tailed deer. White-tailed deer, you don't see as many of them in the center of the forest.
You see them more on the edge of the forest, right next to a cornfield. Why? Animals adapt. Why? Yeah, if you're a white-tailed deer, you're gonna eat some acorns. You're gonna eat beech nuts, which both fall from trees. But if you can also bag some corn from the local farmer, hey, or apples. Oh my God, yeah. All right. Um, yeah. All right. So, where were we at this one? Habitat, species reducing natural habitat fragmentation to humans. Oh yeah. So obviously, being close to humans helps out the deer population. Um, Prior strategy was to create a nature preserve from land nobody wanted. Didn't mean the animals wanted to live there either, though. So it didn't really work. So I shouldn't say it didn't really work. It just we didn't get the most bang for our buck with it. So designing protected areas. How large an area to protect a species? Do the endangered species need a large reserve? Better to have one large or many small reserves. So different way of looking at it. So what will the edge effect be? I'm gonna scoot this down here. Yeah, we'll get that going so we get it to right about here. Yeah, let's get it there. Okay. All right. So mixed approach is nature reserves. This is probably your reality. Why? Because like there's no ultimate system. Like there's not one that's completely better than the other. This is a mix. It gives both benefits and drawbacks. So location is critical. How land is used outside the reserve affects inside the reserve. So yep. If you've got a factory right next to the reserve, that might not really work out for the reserve as well. If you have farmland right next to the reserve, hey, that might have some benefits to it, maybe some drawbacks too. So, proximity to humans plus activities can positively and negatively impact species. Prior strategy was to create, yep, no one wanted. Designated, oh yeah, we did all that. How many individuals, we're going to go with this one here. How many individuals of a species should be protected? Reason being because it's got to be sustainable. If you have too many of those species, they start to wear down the land, and then you get skinny or species with starvation. It's just not good. So, what reserve shape is optimal? Usually round. So, how close should reserves be to each other? Yeah. All right. Do the reserves need corridors or separation? So they have this sloss debate, and they put this in the book, and I just recreated it here. You are to take this down. Single large versus several small. More large animals, which need large range, greater range of habitats. So let me go through single large. More large animals, which need large range. Boom, straight up. Small edge effect. Why? Because it's large. All right. More habitat for species because it's large. Both of these are good for educating people, so improve conservation. All right. So several small right here. Greater range of habitats because they're spread all out. If one goes down, they have others. All right. More populations of rare species because they got one here, then they got one up there, and then they got there. Okay. Sprout the risk of being wiped out. Disaster, which we talked about. So larger, small reserve. What animal needs is most an important factor. Some animals do better with several small. Some people animals do better with the large ones. So define these on page 318 to 319 or using other resources. Edge effect, ecotones. All right, so corridors are strips of land that connect reserves. We're going to get that going down here. Yeah. They increase genetic diversity. So they basically allow like animals here to go over to this one over here, and you got a bunch of, like, when animals travel and they meet other animals, they create other animals. I don't know how to put it. It's birds and the bees sort of stuff. So increases genetic diversity. The problem is diseases can spread too. it's easier to hunt and poach. Why? Because like if you know the animals are here and they want to get to here and they're following this one small path, you know you can just get them on their way through. So I guess it's kind of like duck hunting. I would think about it. I'm not a hunter. Don't have any problem with it. Told you about it. But like if you can follow the lakes going down, and you know the ducks are going to be coming from north to south in migration, you're going to be following. They're eventually going to touch down on that lake to get a breather, chill out for a little bit, get some food, get some water, and that's when you get shot at them, literally and figuratively. So, is invasive species easier to enter as well? Buffer zones or transitional zone that wraps around a reserve. Some farming and logging is allowed, so it's kind of cool because you get like your nature reserve, but then you get to control what's on the outside of it, and really you get to control the negatives of like an edge effect. So what is happening globally? Convention on Biological Diversity, international legal agreement, 196 nations signed up for. It meets every 2 years to review and plan going forward. Cartagena, I think that's how you pronounce it. Protocol looks to protect against biotechnology and like the problems that you have with it and how it affects biodiversity. Nagayo Protocol shares the benefit from genetic diversity, so it spreads it out all throughout the nations. So that way you don't have one nation that's capitalizing and crashing in on it. So bioreserves are set up by UNESCO. If you're looking where to travel, like it's kind of fun. Like if you're looking to vacation, UNESCO World Heritage sites are really pretty cool. So just UNESCO sites, look them up. Reserves help unite biodiversity, conservation plus sustainable use. They improve human lives. They protect the ecosystem. They improve the relationship humans have with nature. So they promote innovative economic development that encourages sustainability. So, yeah. Eco sanctuaries, wildlife. Let me scoot that down. Yeah, let me not. Actually, yeah, eco sanctuary. We'll do that one. Derp. Like that. Yep. Okay. Eco sanctuaries, wildlife preserved, but pest mammal control is implemented. So, pest mammals are rats, dogs, bunnies, plus others. The problem is they come in, they outcompete the native species. They also eat all the food, and really, if there's no predators around, they overpopulate. So, yeah. Invasive predators are removed from an area, plus fences put up to keep them out. The problem is this takes money. Ideally, you're just better off not introducing invasive species. So, another thing is rewilding. We're going to go into this a little bit more in class. I have a feeling, but like they go into this quite a bit in the book between pages like 227 and 337 in the book about the benefits about rewilding. But basically, the land gets to go wild. It's kind of like if you just let your hair go or your beard. All right. Advantages are it reduces climate change through carbon sequestration. It also increases biodiversity. It also doesn't take a whole lot of money, in my opinion. So, environmental value systems and conservation. Draw this. Like these three things you have to own for the DP exam: ecocentrist, technocentric, anthropocentric. All right. So they're the different environmental value systems. So each one has got their own value. So community support. Let's go down here for this. Yeah, right about there. Working with local communities is people-centered way to preserve biodiversity. So it is probably the best way to get buy-in from, and success with reintroduction of biodiversity. Low-income countries, they're low income. They would like income. So basically you got to find meaningful employment for them. So income from conservation versus income from exploiting resources. So if you're paid to like hunt tigers and kill them for their, resource, well, turn those people into now, park rangers, not allowing people to poach.
yeah, suddenly, like, why would I go hunting tigers when I can just go hunting poachers? So, well, not hunting them, like shoot them, but, stopping them. So, TOK, is it ethical to take away a community's traditional way of life and their livelihood? Hmm. How about if alternative opportunities are provided for them? Just like IB loves it, there's no clear and direct answer, you know? So you just got to back your reasoning up, back your thought up with reasoning. Adequate funding. Got to have money for stuff to work. Yep, look at your schools. If you don't have money coming in, not going to run. Most problems occur from chasing money. So if you can cut out the money, people will stop increasing the problem. Back to poaching tigers. So if there's no market for, tigers or whatnot, people are going to stop poaching them. Why? Because you're not going to go out there in the wild and just hunt tigers for like S's and G's and fun. You're going to do it because it's a means to an end. It gives you money. So if it doesn't give you money, you're not going to do it. So stopping that helps out quite a bit. Funds can come from earned income from sustainable environmental projects, ecotourism, food, raw materials like lumber, stuff like that. All right. Money can come from governments. We fund our national parks in the United States. Hopefully, we continue to fund our national parks. A lot of people get a lot of enjoyment from that. So, yep. Individual people and companies, tax breaks. Here's how this works in the United States, hopefully other countries too. But so I make, we'll say $100,000 because it's just even math a year. Well, the government's going to take, we'll say, $20,000 in taxes. We get taxed less in the United States than other countries. But what I could do is make a $2,000 donation or whatever it is to a cause that's dear to my heart, say the national parks or something, something like that. Instead of that money going to the government, now it goes to the park system. Yep. So, yep. Nonprofit organizations. So, education awareness. So your grandkids can see the same cool stuff you see. Yep. That's one other reason to really promote conservation. If you see something really beautiful, really cool, protect it. So that way your kids and your grandkids can. So, yeah. I'd love for I don't have children, but I'd love for my nieces to see a glacier one day, like I have. So, critical thinking, informed evaluation, how ecosystems interact, appropriate legislation, Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, etc. I told you CITES is going to come into it. So, international agreement to stop trade in endangered species. So, yeah, all that sort of stuff. Environmental justice. I have it written down here, basically their definition of environmental justice in the book. Why? Because I could not put it any other way. Take notes on it. So, yeah, I just had to give the whole thing. The right of all people to live in a pollution-free, efficiently protected environment with equitable access to natural resources, regardless of race, gender, or socioeconomic status. Pretty good. I agree with it. Unfortunately, I find that poor people usually feel the brunt of everything, like pollution, so, environmental justice is good for everybody, Scientific research. Where did I go with that? Oh, it's right there. Sweet. So I can just go like that. Go like that. Awesome. I can move my face right there. Scientific research gives information to make best decisions about conservation. Get the facts good and right before you make your decision. So that way you can be logical about it. Looks at the interspecies interaction, which can be used at looking at other ecosystems. So look at past experiences, past fails, past successes. Obviously, you want to gear more towards the successes and what they did. Shows how to improve biodiversity. Allows logical based management of ecosystems. Take the emotion out of it.
Just go pure, cold, logical. All right. How conservation organizations work: IGOs, GOs, and NGOs. IGOs are intergovernment organizations. It's a group of countries, kind of like the UN, United Nations. So, yep. Government organizations, part of a government, highly bureaucratic, which means there's democracy, but means like one person thinks one thing, the other person thinks another. They have to go and debate, they have to choose sides, and then it has to work out. It tends to move very slow. The EPA is an example of this, Environmental Protection Agency in the United States. Although I think they're having quite a bit of their funding cut right now. NGOs are non-governmental organizations. They can move quite a bit faster. They don't really operate like a democracy as much. They are not part of a government. They are not-for-profit. Greenpeace is an example of an NGO. The book continues in page 327, contrasts IGOs and NGOs and NGOs. We're going to end up doing an activity on that in my class, like in class. So you don't have to do anything with it here if you're with the notes. But I do want to tell you, if you're watching these video series and you're not in my class, just don't get waylaid by that. So, make sure you're looking at page 327. Also, page 328 to 337 has a lot more activities information. It goes into rewilding a little bit. We're going to be doing an activity in that in class. So, my best, and thank you for partying along. All right, adios, bye, high five.